Hello, hello, hello. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, or all of those things. Today, we are talking about what's coming up next week, in which there will be a lot of things unfolding. Next week is Kubecon in London, and I'm going to go through a few of the schedules and take a look at what's coming up, because there is a lot unfolding next week. So I'm super excited about it. I hope you are too. And if you're out there in the chat, let me know. It's always great to know that I got an audience here. So let's go ahead and get started. Let me share my screen. Share screen. Entire screen. Screen 2. Share. All right. What in the world is that? Let's try this again. Present. Stop screen. Present. Share screen. Entire screen. Screen 1. Oh, that's so strange. I have not seen that before. I wonder if there's a way to solve it. What if I share that? Does that show up? Hey, okay, that'll work. All right, let's make it happen. All right, so this week, my scrolling has stopped, but you know, it is what it is. Oh, coming up next week, we have a couple of things kind of all stacked up on top of one another, and it's going to be a lot to take on all at once. But you know, I'm up for a challenge. I need to get my steps in anyway. So I hope if any of you are going to be there, you'll find this useful. So let's jump into it. First thing that is going to start is going to be Cloud Native Rejects. If you have never been to Cloud Native Rejects, I highly recommend that you do it at some point. It is an absolutely fabulous conference. It's a number of people who have submitted talks to KubeCon and we're not able to get them in, myself included. And if you weren't able to get your talks in, you can submit them to Rejects. Rejects will evaluate them, and a bunch of those talks make it in. And you can see from the schedule that the quality of the talks are actually pretty amazing. There's a ton of really great content inside of here, including stuff from like maintainers and all of the other folks that are out there. Just an incredible amount of really high quality content. So definitely, if you've never been, it's like one of my absolute favorite B-side conferences in the world. Please come check it out. It runs 2 days before KubeCon, so it'll happen March 30th and March 31st this year. That's Sunday and Monday. Lots of great stuff happening, including, I believe it is on Saturday, but let's make sure. Maybe it's on Monday. Yeah, Monday morning at 9:30 a.m. I am presenting with my very good friend Jed Salazar, and we are presenting What I Wish I Knew About Container Security. And that should be a really fun talk. Oh, you know what? It's not sharing all of the tabs. Remove. Present. I'm just realizing I'm actually looking at something different than you are. Share screen, window, entire screen, that one, there. So strange. Share screen. Okay, that works. And that also works. All right. So we'll keep going. So like I said, 9:30 a.m. on Monday, the 31st, I'm going to be doing a talk called What I Wish I Knew About Container Security. It'll be really fun. I'm going to be doing it with a good friend of mine named Jed Salazar. What I was mentioning before is Cloud Native Rejects. If you haven't been there before, you can actually go to rejects.io. That's the website, or cloudnativerejects.io. Either way, I think it'll take you there. And when you go there, you can actually see the full schedule just below here. and it will take you through like all of the stuff that's coming up. So lots of really great stuff. It is being co-hosted by Benazir and Ralph Squillis today. So super excited, or this year. So super exciting stuff coming up. Yeah, so many really great stuff. So many really great talks in this group. So if you have never been, definitely come. It's one of my absolute favorite BSI conferences. Interesting question from the chat. How long will it take a beginner to learning eBPF? I think. How you doing, Joseph? Good to see you. So I'm going to answer this question because I think it's an interesting question, and I get it a lot. Actually, I spend a lot of time with people in the community and also with customers and stuff. And the answer to that question is really like, I think for the most part, when people are saying, how do I learn eBPF? What they're saying is, typically speaking, like, what are ways I can get started with eBPF? And that's a different question, right? And if you go to ebpf.io, you're going to find a couple of different things here, including this Learn tab, which has things like labs for getting started, case studies, and get started stuff. And so, like, depending on what you're trying to accomplish, you may find that there's already a framework out there that does what you're trying to do. Or that simplifies the way that you're trying to do it. One of the big frameworks that's out there is Tetragon. It's an open source tool that is basically a framework for creating eBPF programs that greatly simplifies the mechanism by which you'd have to do that. And it has like examples of policy libraries and use cases and those sorts of things. There's another one, Inspector Gadget is another framework for these sorts of things. And those kind of get you started with eBPF without having to actually jump into like, how do I write eBPF code? It's more like, how do I leverage eBPF to solve problems that I have today? Which I think is probably a better question to start from, depending on what you're trying to solve. Anyway, let's keep going. So Cloud Native Rejects doing a talk with Jed. Let's keep going into the very next thing that will happen is later on Monday. Is going to be the Maintainer Summit. And if you are a maintainer or a contributor to any of the projects, you'll notice it's not called Contributor Summit. This is a change this year. It used to be Contributor Summit, and it was really kind of tied specifically to Kubernetes, and now it is not, right? It means any project under the CNCF can submit a talk and get into it with all the stuff that's actually happening here. So there's lots of really great stuff coming up. There's just been a change in the TOC. Like some of us have ended our terms. So my term just ended. So I'm no longer in the TOC. But there are some new members, like Jeremy Ricard is going to be in there. And I believe, who is the other new member? I can't remember. But there's going to be some new members in there. There's also still some very good content about Kubernetes. So like Kubernetes steering, saying ask the experts. Going to be a lot of really great content in here for folks who are actually interested in learning more about projects or engaging better with projects. And this ties all across the different ecosystems. And it should be a really great event to attend if you are interested in it. I believe their registration is closed. So if you are not already registered, it may be difficult to get in. Yeah, it looks like registration is closed. But if you want to know about the next one, like that's definitely something to think about for next year, if you've not already registered. Then we have also starting on Tuesday, April 1st, which I do see the humor in. I think it's absolutely hilarious that April 1st is the first day of Kubecon. I'm like, okay, so what are we actually doing here? Like, are you having me on? Like, what's happening? But it turns out that it's actually a real day in everybody's calendar. And you can see the full CiliumCon schedule right here. Hosted by Skid. So on Tuesday, it's actually only about a half day. And if I click on all. So this is actually just the talks that are going to be happening on Cilium Day. And so these is only a half day. It starts at about 9 a.m. and goes till about 12:30. It's going to be co-hosted by Hemant Mala and Bill Mulligan. Bill is the person who writes the newsletter. Lots of really great stuff in there. I'm going to go over the newsletter. I just haven't done it yet. But lots of really great stuff. There's going to be a great talk by Liz Rice talking about configuring Cilium for performance and scale with Neha Agarwal from Microsoft. We have high-scale networking for ML workloads from Luigi at G Research. Pretty exciting stuff. We have Cilium's Honeycomb, Cultivating Technical Excellence in a Diverse Ecosystem by Donia. Improving Network Efficiency, the Power of Integrating Delegated IPAM with Cilium, with Tamara Manik, who actually, I believe, contributed that particular feature, and Will Daly. Simplifying Multi-Cluster Networking with Cilium and the MCS API, a technical deep dive, brought to you by Ledger and Marco at Cisco. A lightning talk, the Agentic Bee, how to get AI agents to talk to Tetragon. That sounds pretty interesting. Another lightning talk, mastering zero downtime migrations between Cilium identity allocation modes, leveraging somebody from Anton from Datadog. And we have high availability for Cilium Egress Gateway by Angelo Conforti in Cornerbanca SA. And then finally, the closing remarks. So it's only about half a day. There's lots of other events that are happening on the 1st, including the Maintainer Summit, as I mentioned before. So depending on what you're trying to accomplish, it is a really great set of events. I believe that goes the first 2, doesn't it? Or is it only on the 31st? Let's make sure. Beautiful Summit, March 31st. Oh, it's only on the 31st. Okay. All right, so the first looks like a pretty easy day, about half a day. With lots of stuff going on, though. So next up, we have the main event. And in the main event, your friends at Cilium and Isovalent and Tetragon are going to be in 2 different locations. We're going to be at our booth, which is a very nice booth, just very close to the actual to the open source project pavilion, and that's going to be the other place we are. So we're going to be in one of those 2 places. Definitely come by and check us out if you're interested in taking learning more about like different. We've actually revamped the labs for this Kubecon coming up. So if you go to isovalent.com/labs, you're going to see a bunch of these say updated. Some of these say new. Lots of really great, exciting stuff here. But one of the interesting ones, or some of the interesting ones, I guess, is our, let's see, project difficulty beginner maybe. These discovery ones that say new, these have actually just been redone, and they'll take you through a discovery path to determine like what you're going to go through a survey when you come to the booth, and that survey will indicate whether you're a platform engineer, a platform B, a cloud network B, or a SecOps B. And if you're one of those things, then you can actually work through this discovery lab, and it will show you some of the other labs that you can then jump to and discover a lot of great content from. So you don't have to be at KubeCon to take these labs. You can jump in at any point. But if you're at KubeCon, come by the booth and enter our labs. You can also enter to win a number of really interesting Lego sets. Lots of really great stuff happening. I hope to see you there. But other things that are happening at KubeCon. So there are actually, just like last year, a number of talks that are related to Cilium. And there's one particular one that I'm actually very excited about. Yes, on Friday, April 4th, by Andres and Hugo from Messier 42, they're working on a really interesting implementation of Cilium leveraging end-to-end quantum-resistant encryption back and forth between all the things. And so Andre tried to get this in at during the Cilium, during the eBPF summit, and unfortunately, submitted it just a little bit too late, so I wasn't able to see this talk. But I am very excited about it, and I think you should be too. Obviously, this will be recorded, so even if you miss it in person, it'll still be worth going to check out, because I think, quantum technology is coming along, but I think just really understanding how they went through this configuration, what actually problems they're trying to solve with this should be pretty fascinating. More data, please. So hands-on green cloud experiments with Leonard Park and Antonio Tutura. Also totally unrelated to us as a company, but out there talking about us, which is always great. Simplifying the networking and security stack with Cilium, Hubble, and Tetragon. Project Lightning Talk, Simplifying Cloud Native Security, eBPF-powered encryption inside Carless Mesh by Yang Tian, who I believe is a maintainer. Speakers. Okay, we'll go with it. So lots of great stuff happening there. And there's just so many other talks, so many fascinating things happening. If I go to Tetragon, we can see that I am actually doing a talk on Thursday. That is a sponsored demo talking unlocking runtime security with Tetragon insights from version 1.15. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about what's happening with the Tetragon product in 1.15, we can definitely show you all of that. All right. That, I believe, is where you can find all of the calendar stuff. I don't think I've shared this, so let me go ahead and do that. Share. This is number 176. Save. Okay. So if you go here, paste, you will be able to see the notes for this particular session. And just make sure I've made it read where it will go. Yeah, read everyone. Good. And then you'll be able to see the notes and you'll be able to check out like what's actually happening out there. So let's jump over to the newsletter. And right here at the top of the Cilium.io website, you can actually see CloudNativeCon and CiliumCon, where it will actually take you through another really great article written by good friend, I believe it was Paul that wrote this one, that's talking through and giving you an overview of each of the talks that are happening. But let's get back to that newsletter. So number 77 came out on my birthday, March 11th. And there's lots of great stuff in here, as usual. So eBPF Arena, a tutorial. Learn a new eBPF API that enables programs to allocate memory pages. When eBPF task stack P return garbage on the latest Linux kernels. Blame Fred. Oh no. San70 Hive operator, Kubernetes operator for kernel tracing of inode accesses with eBPF programs. So that's actually understanding when things are touching particular file systems. We have something built into the Tetragon for that. That's an interesting take though. eBPF permission manager, a lightweight, fast, and powerful for managing permissions in Linux using eBPF. Interesting. This repo contains various examples to learn, explore, and experiment with eBPF. So this is actually a great, probably a decent start for so this might, if you were interested, MLV, if you're interested in actually digging into like some of the eBPF code stuff, this might be a reasonable place to start. This is somebody else's work on kind of how they got started. And they have some examples in here. So that might be a fun one to start with. And you can find that on the newsletter. So if you go to cilium.com/newsletter, that's where you're going to find the archive of newsletters and where you can sign up for new ones. And so there's lots of really great stuff in here, but also generally speaking will be a good place to start for stuff like this. In the ecosystem, Meta's strobe light leverages eBPF to reduce CPU cycles and server demands by up to 20%. Very cool, written in Phoronix and the Register. Case study, streamlining global logistics with Cilium at DB Schenker. How eBPF is changing container networking. Yeah, there's actually some really cool stuff coming in container networking, including things like Netkit, which are really starting to show up and really improve things. announcing the beta release of OpenTelemetry Go auto instrumentation, leveraging eBPF, breaking the chains of kubeproxy with Cilium. Yeah, one of the really good reasons to adopt Cilium for sure. Bridging the gap, Kubernetes networking for network and platform engineers. New lab is out. Why eBPF hasn't taken over IT operations yet. Lots of really great stuff in here. The how-to, deploying a MySQL InnoDB cluster set across Kubernetes clusters using Cilium. See, this is actually a pretty good example because I did something similar to this a while ago, leveraging like cluster mesh, and I think this is what they're describing here, wherein if you have built cluster mesh, it means that all of the pods are all on one flat network, and so you can actually build relationships between components like database series or database servers that need to actually know about each other across those two clusters. So that's pretty cool. Running eBPF on macOS, leveraging Lima, creating a home lab, running Kubernetes multi-node cluster with Cilium as a CNI. Let's see what that looks like. Probably kind of maybe something else. Turning off swap, installing container D. Oh, have I already visited a member-only story of Medium? Oh, Paris. Okay. Is there a read mode? Yeah, anyway. So if you are a member of Medium, then I guess you could read that article. But fast tracking your journey into Kubernetes for networking engineers, which is a coming up panel discussion, online panel discussion. And then Isovalent Discovery Workshop, as I was just mentioning, those two are new. So Fast Track for Cilium, it's that Fast Track for Platform Engineers. BPF conference happened or is happening, I guess, what, today or something? No, already happened in Montreal. And then CiliumCon EU coming out really soon, as we mentioned before. Nice. Ask your doctor. Ask your distro provider about NF tables today. I love it. All right, I believe that is everything I wanted to tell you. Oh, but there is one more thing I want to tell you. Give me 1 second to find my hat. I'll be right back. Okay. Next week, I will be wearing this hat, walking around at Kubecon. If you see me and you're interested in saying hello, please do so. I am cordially inviting you to do so. I love talking to folks about all kinds of things. Doesn't have to be Cilium, doesn't have to be eBPF. Could even just be like mentoring around career stuff. Like I'm always here for it. So if you see me out there, whether at KubeCon or anywhere else, and you want to just come up and say hello, please do. I love meeting all kinds of folks. So I hope that you will be at some event where I will be, and we will get to see each other. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I know I'm going to spend a lot of my weekend flying over the Pacific, I guess it's the Atlantic, isn't it? Yeah, flying over the Atlantic and most of the U.S., all of the U.S. to get to London. And I'll be there for all week. So have a great weekend, and I hope to see you next week. And I believe that's all I've got for you. See you next time.